tell you I want to go poo poo, I want to go pee pee. I have my period.
I think it's oversharing a little bit. In Western culture, we're not so specific. Maybe you take a day off for work and we wouldn't say I was at home with diarrhea all day. We might just say I didn't feel well. That's enough. Our boss doesn't need to know what you're doing. The Taiwanese will often say like I not just need to go to the bathroom, but I need to go take a number 1 or number 2. So different culture for sure. I think it's kind of funny personally, but I would not do that. Article about Taiwanese being two-faced. I used Google Translate. What do you think? Are Taiwanese two-faced?
I think it's true. 我觉得台湾人的友善是表面的，往往局限于西方人或白人跟外国人交流，大概就是3种模式：练习英文、异国恋、tourist Q&A 的感觉，就是你有没有吃过臭豆腐？你有没有去过这个地方？大概就是这种形式的交流问答。那当然，这些只针对于白人。面对东南亚的人，就是一种态度，歧视的偏见就很严重。我们希望透过这个短片，观众来反思和思考。友善他人应该是跨越国籍和种族的，我们应该敞开心胸来接受每一个人。This guy said Taiwanese at work and real life situation are totally two faces.
Maybe a little bit. There's this cultural idea of saving face. That's a little bit of a misconception. In Western culture, we just kind of call it lying, but here it's almost socially acceptable to tell a little lie to save face. That could be considered being two-faced. I think also sometimes Taiwanese aren't so direct, and so they're saying something to you, but there's a hidden meaning to it.
Yes.
That is, I don't know if that's being two-faced, but there's something like you have to read into what they're saying to you. You don't always know what's the point? What are you trying to tell me? I can't think of an example, but this happens a lot where you have to kind of decipher the code to figure out, oh, this is why they were telling me that. In Western culture, we might be more direct, but maybe here it's more indirect. I think their social skills are not as strong as some of their other skills, like math and science. I think it comes from the education. At a young age, they are taught very much to focus on memorizing things for tests. And I understand there's a lot of pressure on them. So there's a lot of time spent studying, which means there's not a lot of time for socializing.
School not teaching us that, how to socialize.
So if you don't learn it in school, then where are you going to learn it, right? You don't have time to spend with your friends and develop these social skills. So I feel like it starts from a young age and then they never fully develop as adults. That's not to say that Taiwanese people aren't nice, very nice people, but maybe lack in socializing.
What do you think about Taiwanese English level? When I saw this article, I think, no way.
This is an ambitious goal. It will be interesting. I think overall Taiwanese are very willing to try to speak English with you, more so than Americans would be to try to speak Mandarin with Taiwanese in America. So Taipei is relatively easy to get around only using English. As you go south, it gets more and more difficult. Especially in rural areas, it would be more difficult to find somebody who speaks English. But overall, I think it would benefit Taiwan to become more English friendly. I know many Westerners and tourists would feel more comfortable traveling here if they knew it was easier to get around just speaking English.
Taiwan traffic is a living hell. What do you think?
I think it's definitely different than in America. I feel like a lot of Taiwanese have watched all the Fast and Furious movies and they think that's how you're supposed to drive. So it's like controlled chaos out there. I understand that there are scooters and cars mixing together, but I feel like the rules on paper are different than the rules on the road. So I don't know where the middle ground is, but I do know that there should be more sidewalks in cities for pedestrians.
What was your first impression of Taiwan?
I remember staying in Taipei for a couple weeks and the sights, sounds, and smells of that city, especially at night, with all the neon lights and the scooters. I remember the night markets, the traditional markets, the amount of affordable restaurants and locally owned businesses. I was surprised there weren't nearly as many chain restaurants as we have in America. I liked that. I like seeing all the locally owned businesses and restaurants, the energy of the city. I think that's what I remember most.
What are some similarities you have noticed between Taiwan and Americans?
The first thing I would say is national pride or freedom. Both Taiwanese and Americans are very proud to be a citizen of their country and to have the freedom that comes with being a citizen of a democracy. Number two, food. We both love food. We love to talk about food. We love to eat food. We love to take pictures of food. Taiwanese like to take pictures of food. Americans take pictures, but it's a little different. But food is very much a central part of both cultures. Number three, Taiwanese parents and American parents. I know there are lots of differences, but they both love their children very much and are very curious. You have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, when you're gonna get married, when are you gonna have kids? We get the same questions in America, and I know you get them in Taiwan. We share a lot. We have a lot in common.
Why do you think most Taiwanese do group travel, but Westerners do solo travel?
Good question. I think maybe Taiwanese or Asians feel safer and it's more convenient to travel with a group rather than traveling solo. And I would imagine that if you didn't speak the local language, you would be much more likely to travel with a group and a tour guide rather than to travel by yourself. Westerners like the freedom and having the power to create their own itineraries and have their own schedule. Personally, I enjoy the research process and finding my flights and my hotels and planning my own itinerary and leaving some downtime to actually relax and enjoy my vacation.
How is a cross-cultural relationship different than a regular relationship?
The first two things that pop into my head are language barrier or communication styles and family dynamics. Communicating in a second language is always difficult, and of course you're going to run into communication issues. This is something that a cross-cultural relationship has to deal with. But sometimes it can be funny, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I remember you saying that one.
What?
And family dynamics, like I was lucky that I didn't have to deal with a lot of the customs and traditions that I know some of my friends have had to deal with in the past, like presenting gifts or doing a lot of the traditional things that go along with a wedding and the ceremony and stuff like that.
So when we started dating and eventually got married, only have to deal with my dad. Why don't you guys have a cute mixed baby? Taiwanese love this question.
I will let you answer that one.
Sounds a lot of work. Child sounds expensive.
I think of the question, why do you want to have kids? I don't have a good answer. I think if we did have a child, it would be for the wrong reasons, like for pleasing someone else, maybe my parents. I just don't think it's not coming from a place within. I've never had the urge to be a father or to start a family, so I just don't think it's right.
And we don't have a family support here to raise a child. It doesn't suit our lifestyle.